They were designed to define tomorrow. Instead, they became relics of yesterday. And what you are about to see was meant to shape the future, and then it was left behind. This is Mega Ghosts. There is no disaster here. No collapsed towers, no broken glass, no signs of war. The streets are clean, the buildings are modern, the museums are architecturally ambitious. At first glance, Ordos looks complete. Wide boulevards stretch across districts designed for hundreds of thousands of residents. Apartment towers rise in uniform symmetry. Public squares sit polished and empty. Everything is intact, and yet almost no one is here. No traffic noise, no crowded sidewalks, no life behind most of the windows. This isn't a ruin, it's something stranger. It's a city waiting. To understand Ordos, you have to go back to the early YY 2000s. Inner Mongolia was experiencing a coal boom. Energy demand was rising. Prices were strong. Local governments were suddenly wealthy. Revenue surged, and with revenue came ambition. Officials envisioned a new district, Kangbashi, a modern urban center, a cultural and financial hub. It would symbolize progress, confidence, acceleration, housing for 1 million residents, grand civic architecture, museums designed by world-renowned architects, government buildings that projected permanence. Construction moved quickly. Entire neighborhoods emerged in just a few years. It looked untoppable, but the city wasn't built for families first. It was built for growth. Local governments relied heavily on land sales. Land was leased to Developers borrowed money. Construction boosted GDP. Apartments were sold, often before they were needed. On paper, it worked. Empty apartments still counted as success because construction itself was the product. Units were purchased by investors, speculators, those expecting prices to rise. Ownership was recorded, but occupancy is different from ownership. A city can be sold without ever being lived in. It performed, it generated numbers, it just didn't generate life. Media outlets began calling it a ghost city. Images of empty streets circulated globally, but the reality is more complex. Population did grow. Slowly, schools opened, government offices relocated, yet the early years defined its image. A city built ahead of demand. Too far ahead, cities are not just structures. They are rhythms, conversations, commerce, movement. Without those elements, architecture feels hollow. When growth becomes the objective, what happens to purpose? When GDP becomes the metric of success, what becomes secondary? Housing can be built quickly. Infrastructure can expand rapidly, but community formation is slower. Belonging is slower. You can engineer roads, you can finance towers, you can accelerate construction, but you cannot accelerate belonging. Ordos was not a disaster. It was a system operating exactly as designed. Investment first, people later. Walk through Kangbashi at dusk. Streetlights illuminate empty sidewalks. Wind moves through open plazas. The architecture is impressive. The silence is more powerful. It is a monument to momentum. They believed they were building the future, but the future never arrived. And now, only silence remains.